Hi there, and welcome to the 10th edition of Career Stories Live. So I'm really pleased to be here today with Amanda Kirby. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for coming on.
Hiya.
Cool. So as usual, please do comment to let us know that you're here, where you're joining from, and feel free to ask any questions or share any comments in the comment section, and we will read those out. So Amanda and I met about 17 years ago. It's actually in the school playground, and I was pretty much immediately impressed with her networking skills. She just had this amazing spreadsheet already of everyone in the playground. It was really cool. So I was well impressed with that, and she's continued that since I've known her to be a really, really good networker. Definitely a massive advocate for women in IT and for switching careers. So that's why Amanda's on. So as I've said before, I'm just really interested in what people do and why they do it, learning about different roles. And the idea really is to give people advice and places to source information. So Amanda is currently working in digital transformation for Thames Water. So I'm going to hand over to her now to give us a brief intro into what you're doing right now, Amanda.
Cool. Yes, I'm currently at Thames Water in the digital team, digital transformation, and I'm working on transforming digital so that Thames can complete its digital transformation. And that sounds very fancy words for saying we have to change and be more IT and technically savvy, and at the same time doing right by our customers. So there's a whole piece of work that I'm doing to try and help make that happen.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I've seen a couple of comments coming in. So Aya is saying hi. So hi there, thanks for joining. And Alison, hi Alison, thanks for joining. So that's good to see everybody. Okay, so well, let's go to the start of your career. So how did you start your career, Amanda?
I unfortunately didn't get the opportunity to go to university like a lot of my friends did. So I got a temp job, and it was to match invoices. It was the most boring job you can imagine. It was, I'm not going to say it was pre-computers because it's not quite that, but it was certainly paper, bits of paper that came in with, we had a list of all the purchase orders and a list of all the invoices from suppliers. And when they didn't match, they would form out on this report. And every week we'd get this massive, massive report, and it would be broken into chunks and given to 10 of us to go through and join them up. But I didn't do it for very long because ultimately I thought I could find a better way of doing it. There was all these numbers, and effectively you had to rewrite everything back out. Okay. And I could see that actually if you just drew a line and then handed it to the girls who keyed everything back in again, why did I need to rewrite something that was already typed? So, and that's kind of how I started everything in my career, by being curious and by thinking of a better way and having a conversation with the girls that did all the keying and saying, well, if I just did a line, could you take this? And they said yes. And so every Monday I'd just draw some lines because it was so obvious the invoices and purchase orders were out. And then they'd take my whole report. And because they took my report, I had no work to do. So every Monday I'd spend half an hour doing this, drawing lines, and then I'd have the whole of the day to go off and do something else. So I got to know other people in IT. I got to know other people in finance. I met people in the food department. This was all for Sainsbury's Saver Centre head office. And so you just got to network with people. And within maybe 6 months, I was offered an IT project, installing a purchasing system going all around the country. There was 19-year-old me in a 4x4 and a whole bunch of PCs in the background. And I had no idea what to do. But, it was just fun. Just got on and did it.
That's so cool. Yeah,
it just started by accident, really. And that's it. I ended up in IT.
There you go. So like I said at the beginning, your networking skills were evident really early on. So that's really impressive, and a bit of process re-engineering going on straight away. So you're kind of ahead of the times, Amanda. So we've got someone saying, nice to see us. So we'll be able to see who that is later. I'm guessing that's one of your connections. Mark Rawley saying, hey, both looking forward to this. Oh, nice to see you, Mark. And Alison saying, I love the idea of being curious. It leads to so much new thinking and better ways of working. Cool. Thank you, Alison. Okay, so I mentioned before you're a great advocate of women in IT. So what's it been like over the years, and what's it like now?
It's definitely changed in the sort of 20 years that I've been working in IT. It was not unusual in some of the early days to be the only woman in the room. And certainly as I got more and more senior, I was definitely, it was very strange being the most senior person in the room, but also the only woman. And it was even little things like we'd go to restaurants and I obviously had to be paying the bill and it would go to someone else in order to, they wouldn't come to me at all as being.
Oh my God, so just assuming that you're not in, oh gosh.
Yeah. It's little things where it's just unconscious biases that people don't even realize they have. And you become more and more aware of it. In the last few years, I think the last few years, things have changed. And there's definitely the more people being more aware of these unconscious things that they're doing. So it's changed dramatically, I'd probably say, in the last five or so years.
Yeah.
But before that, definitely, right down to the point where, I mean, it's probably 10 years ago now, I had someone tell me that I would never be senior in an IT organization because I had children and that just was a natural disadvantage for me. I think it probably was then. It's probably not so much now. Things have changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, women in IT, there's some incredible women, absolutely incredible women. And I think sometimes the whole technical badge puts people off, but it is quite male dominated at the moment, but it's changing.
Yeah. Okay. And what's it like in sort of utility sector? Is that even more male or is it a mixture?
So when I joined, our exec team for digital, I think it was about 7 people, all men. It's now 50-50. So it's really nice to see at a senior level, much more women coming in senior, very senior roles.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember the percentage, but in the last, even the last few months, our hires have been quite a lot of female leaders as well, which is really nice to see.
Yeah.
It's funny because you want to make sure that you're not doing positive discrimination and that you are getting the right people for the roles. But for example, in one of those recent hires, I took on interviewed a candidate, and they're incredible. And the female candidate was heads above any others. So actually, it wasn't a positive discrimination. It's just, I think more and more women are coming through. I think there's more women in the interviewing pool in the first place, and therefore you're getting a much wider set of women at the top.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that sort of leads me on to one of the other things I was going to talk about, which was flexible working. And I think I remember when you were kind of getting back into IT roles when we first met, and you were a really good advocate at that point for flexible working. So you got anything to kind of chat about with that for you or other people?
Yeah. So flexible working in an IT space is quite possible, right? We can, in fact, the pandemic's proved it. I'm sat at home now. Well, I'm not, obviously I'm in a Greek island.
Yeah,
but it is possible in an IT organization. I think personally, I haven't been very good at it. And I think that's to do with me rather than anything else. My sort of desire to be a bit more present and compete, and I am very competitive, I'm very stubborn, all of these sorts of things. So these are my negative points as well as my strengths, and so actually that hasn't probably worked out so well for me. But for the people that have worked for me, I've loved putting in proper flexible working, reduction of days, part-time, condensed hours, anything, and the flexibility to be a present parent is really important. Parent, carer, whatever, just portfolio careers if you want to do something else on another day. That I'm very, very keen on. I just don't think that's my lesson to learn, isn't it? That's where I've got to get to. I'm going to have to do that in the next phase of my career.
And I can't say too much about that. I remember us talking years ago, and we did Myers-Briggs, didn't we? And we were the same personality type. Yeah. So the whole stubborn, etc.
Yeah.
Oh, let's move on. So Jeff's joined. So hi, Jeff. Jeff's from America. So he's saying a woman came up with the original term bug, meaning error in an IT program. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Amanda?
Nope.
There you go. Thank you. And he's saying the term bug was used in an account by computer pioneer Grace Hopper, who publicized the cause of a malfunction in an early electromechanical computer. Thank you. So he's learning every day here. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so we talked about the start of your career. So I just mentioned Myers-Briggs, but I know we've often had lots of conversations about kind of continuous development and things like that. And I remember you talking about presenteering, and that sounded really interesting. So can you just talk a little bit more about that and what it means and what you've done with it?
Yeah. So I think I've done a variety of roles, and ultimately my IT roles have been fairly sort of out of the book. But on the side, in work, and I've been lucky to work for amazing companies like Virgin Media, like 3, and now Thames Water, that enable me to do stuff within the department that is pushing and helping a learning culture and helping general improvement and development of our people, which is essential. And so one of the ones was Presentering Club that myself and a colleague, Dan, ran. And it was brilliant. It was all around trying to teach people how to do presentations. So we did 1 hour a week for a 6 or 8 week course. And each week had a separate topic, and we guided people through becoming great presenters. But I will tell you that even though it was all about presentations, the slide or the section that we did on PowerPoint wasn't till like week 7. And really all that was about was confidence and that ability to have a voice and to stand up and to know what you're saying is valuable. And so again, I think we got quite a lot of women joining that group, and we also got a lot of people whose English wasn't their first language. So effectively people that didn't necessarily feel they had such a strong voice and we were again within the IT departments doing these things. So again, those voices, just trying to amplify their voices and give them a leg up, I guess, of that confidence to speak up. And it was really successful. And there were some great stories of people going on to get their dream jobs, or people then presenting on massive stages. And you can't, there's nothing you can be more proud of than watching someone else develop. It's awesome.
That's so yeah. Cool.
But
that's presentering, isn't it? Not presentering, presentering.
Presentering, yeah, that's what we called it. It was just to be different.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's really cool. It's just, I was saying earlier, writing it down, you think, how do I pronounce that word? Presentering. But I think this is one of the other things about you, Amanda. I think you're always very humble, and like you said, I'm lucky to work in the departments that let me do this. But actually, I think it's partly that, but it's also partly your determination to keep developing yourself and actually use that in a practical way with everyone else. So I don't think you give yourself enough credit for what you've achieved. Definitely a bit of feedback there. So you did talk about being a massive advocate for leadership, personal development and company transformations, being more about culture and people than IT systems. Did you want to just expand a little bit on what you meant by that?
Yes. So I've been part of a couple of failed, I would say, IT transformations. Failed as in they haven't gone in as the IT, but however, there's always learning. So it's not I'm not saying they were rubbish, but they didn't embed. And I think what I've learned from that is that it's all about people, right? So you can put in any company can put in new IT software and say, here you go, you've got new fancy IT software. But if you haven't engaged and changed the mindsets of the people, effectively what you're going to embed is the old processes into new software and old mindsets into new software. And you don't make a leap. You make maybe a baby step into something that's, cheaper or more flexible on a cloud system, but it's actually no better for the company and for the business and for the customers. So a big part of what I believe is that transformation is around mindsets, it's around people, it's around culture. And if you can start to shift people, then actually the IT will catch up. And you then want the IT that will have your new ways of working. So I can try and think of a few examples. So very recently at Thames Water, I've been with another colleague, we've been running what we've called innovation sprints, but they're effectively intense weeks of work where we've looked at how might we fix quite a straightforward problem. Like we looked at our change management, our IT change management process, and how might we resolve some of the pain points and what good looks like. And again, for all we came out with some really good pain points and some things to fix and some bits to remove and whatever, what we actually realized was there's a lot of things that were put in that process for very good intention that were actually making it slower. And it's because of people's mindsets and the way they were thinking about their jobs and what they wanted to achieve, as opposed to thinking about what the customer needs. And that's starting to see that flip and change in people is amazing. And that's the bit that will lead to a full transformation of digital. When we get people that are in roles that have been particularly rigid in the past, maybe it's a documented process or something, and I run that process and that's my bubble, to thinking about the customer and thinking about how we actually interact with our customers and how that then informs how we work as a digital team. So it's all about people. Anyone that tells you an IT transformation is putting in new IT software is probably from a big organisation that's going to make money out of it.
Yeah, excellent. So I just had a thought as you were talking, actually. So Mark Crawley that came on earlier, just to say hello, he has a recruitment company that specialises in finding IT roles for people who are neurodiverse. So it might be worth a connection between the two of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Got
a couple of
ways of thinking. Absolutely.
Yeah. So John's from Chicago. So he's saying that presenting program sounds wonderful. Is it recent?
Yes, well, just pre-pandemic. We were going to set up, and actually we were going to leave 3 where we were employed, and we did it internally for a couple of years and set it up as a proper entity. Unfortunately, no one wanted face-to-face training during a pandemic. So it hasn't happened yet, but maybe it's just yet.
Yeah, perfect. So just in case anyone from America doesn't know 3, I don't know if it's an English company, but it's a telecoms company, isn't it?
A mobile phone company, yeah.
Okay. And Jeff is saying, I've always heard that if you put good people and bad processes together, the bad process unfortunately wins. Do you agree?
100%. Absolutely. And that's where it comes to, you've got to change the people before you think about IT systems.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so next point.
Once we change the people, by the way, it's not, I didn't mean like get rid of them and put new people. I don't think that works either, because then you've lost all that lovely knowledge. So it's about developing people, because actually if you can find those core skills, you can sort of move them on and they become the change. So it's even better.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, yeah, so values. So most people I've spoken to so far in these 10 weeks have mentioned their values in some way or another. So in terms of your personal values, does that have much of an impact for you, or sort of the type of organisation you'll go for, that kind of thing? Is it a deciding factor?
Yes, certainly as I've got, I'm going to say older, but I'm
more experienced.
More senior in my career or whatever. It's around, I do want to start giving back. So I think my mindset's changed a little bit there. So moving to a utility company like Thames Water, a big part of the draw for me was helping our environment and improving our rivers and our water courses. So I want to be a part of that. I want to make that better. So it's a really good motivator. Personally, I'm not sales driven, so I'm not necessarily I don't want commercialization quite so much. So it does really help that my company is linked to my values. I also think I personally have quite strong values around fairness and around things being fun. If it's not fun, I won't stay anyway. So I'm always looking for pockets of excitement, or I need that little buzz or that little excitement of things that'll be fun and also fair. It has to be a company that's got the right kindness as well, values.
Yeah, the kind of moral values as well.
Yeah. And the companies will say they've got them, because you'll see most companies publish their values and they try and hold people to them. But if they're not really holding them to them, I probably won't stay very long.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And do you think you can pick that up in interview stage? Because this is one of the things that I talk to clients about, is kind of trying to understand a bit about the values and matching them before you go in. But quite often they say, oh, you can't really tell in interviews. What do you think?
You probably can't tell. So, well, you can get a glimpse in interviews. Even better if you can get into the office. You'll get to the actual environment. You'll get to see a bit more, and you'll get to see the sort of people. I would say if you're going for an interview in the actual office, make sure you get a tour around where people sit. And if people say hello, you've got a clear guidance that they're more friendly, for example. You do pick that up as a feel. Otherwise, I'd say I've always found every role that I've been for in the last sort of few years, I found someone through LinkedIn probably, or has been through LinkedIn, that works there already, or has a friend of a friend, and I've got them to phone them and go, what's it like? What am I letting myself in for? Because I'm not always after a perfect company. I'm after a company that I can help change as well, because that's what I want to do. I want to make things better. So if I went into a company that's perfect, how can I actually help?
And it wouldn't be challenging enough for you either, would it? That's the thing.
Yeah. So the fun for me comes in, there's lots of opportunity, and you will be given the opportunity to do that. And you can pick some of that up from interview and from other people that already work there. So network.
Perfect. Okay, so Alison saying values are so important to ascertain fit, but ask them do the values ring true to the culture. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Good interview question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay, so what would you say have been your career highs so far?
I've had loads, but I would say I'm probably a bit of a sucker for winning an award. So I've had a couple of sort of recognition awards, which I've been quite delighted from. I would say most of my awards, though, have come from stuff outside of my role. So where I've done things that have been like presenter in club, like transforming part of service management team, and I did quite a lot of training and development in that sense. It was sort of extra to my role, and that's where I've been recognised. So they definitely make some of the highs, but my highs are always around people. It's always around seeing people develop, whether that's an individual or a whole team, and that's. Those are the absolute highs, and you know it's a high because you want to go and celebrate it, and you want to sit in the pub and go, guess what I did.
Yeah, that's cool. So that leads me to sort of a subsequent question, I suppose. So in terms of transferable skills, so if you were looking to move into something that was kind of outside of your role, that's a good way of doing it, isn't it? So picking up other projects alongside what you've been doing. Yeah, have you done? So you did that?
Yeah, there's always something else.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good tip. Okay, and lows. So have you had any career lows? What were they, if you're comfortable talking about them?
Yeah, again, I think my strengths and my weaknesses help in this one, but I have a tendency to push myself. I'm very competitive, like I said, and very stubborn and will drive. And then it will get to the point where actually I realize I'm burnt out, and I haven't been particularly brilliant at spotting before that happens and putting in a boundary. So I've definitely like to spectacularly explode and sort of as in just can't cope with it anymore and need to take a bit of headspace, not months, but a couple of days to actually sort of reset myself and go, what on earth was I doing? I'm also quite lucky in the kind of careers that I've done that I've been able to then either go, actually, this whole role's not for me, or I've finished what I can do here, and actually I need a new opportunity. So I tend to move roles every sort of 3-4 years, whether in the same company or moving different organizations.
Yeah. So as long as there's a bit of challenge.
Challenge I need, but then making sure I need to learn to not burn myself out.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so switching sectors. So you've gone from kind of starting off in retail food, whatever it was, and I think you worked in a small family-run business, did you? And then onto IT, and now into utilities. So how have you gone about? They're quite major shifts of sectors. So how have you gone about doing that?
For all I've shifted sector, I haven't necessarily shifted. It's all been within IT.
Yeah.
So effectively, the type of work that I do hasn't changed, even though it's in a different organization. The business does something different. I would also say, though, that what I do is not particularly technical, and therefore I reckon I've got transferable skills that could go into lots of different places. So I tend not to worry about sector, although I think there's some real, some people that have got a really key bit within their sort of working in the water industry. There's plenty of technicians in the waste and clean water space who obviously would look for other utility companies. I haven't worried too much about that. And part of it's just about, again, it's this networking. It's having a chat with your contact that's at a company for where you've seen a role going, or even better, I've had referrals where someone's contacted me and said, there's a job going here, you'd love it. And then I've applied for them at that point. So I've got a bit more of an insight to switch anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say most of your roles have been through kind of your network and talking to people rather than actually seeing an advert and applying for it?
Yes. So we had three was my ex-husband. He saw the job and said, you'd love this. Come and join us. He was there as well at the time. So, we've still got quite a good relationship. So he got me that, or he suggested that job there. When I moved to Thames now, I saw the job being advertised and I contacted a friend of a friend who contacted, actually, he knew the CIO. So that got me a bit more information there as well. So using a combination of existing contacts, being referred to roles, and networking is definitely the way to do it, or the way it's worked for me.
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, I think that seems to be pretty common with most people I speak to, that it is about people they know or someone they've kind of reached out to within an organization in some way. You've got some kind of shared connection.
You get a better insight. And again, I think this is the unconscious bias. I think the fact that someone knows you and recommends you in is actually stronger than what your CV says.
Yeah. And it also shows a bit of effort, doesn't it? Because most people will just click on that button to apply. But if you've actually gone to the effort of phoning someone, ideally phoning someone and talking to them about it, asking them what it's like there, they're much more likely to remember you.
Yes. And quite often they get referral fees as well. So in fact, every company I've joined, actually not Thames, but every company before that, I was getting referral fee. Those people were getting money for me being employed.
Yeah. Everyone's a winner, definitely.
Yeah.
So any other career stages or choices that you'd like to talk through?
Don't
have to. We can move on to the next question.
Well, no, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking, no, I think, it's. I think I've been generally very lucky. I think the thing for me is I hope the best is still to come. I feel like I've, what's the song? If I knew what I knew now when I was younger, it would be a very different story. So I hope that the best is still even to come.
Excellent. Okay. So have you got any advice for people that want to start out their career in IT or any of the other areas? I just picked on IT.
I would say IT has vast types of roles in it. So actually, if that's your chosen preference, that any transferable skills from most areas are very, very useful. You can go from sort of management of people. If you want to be technical, there is plenty of technical roles, but there are plenty of us that have never written code. So, we enable those coders or those technical people to deliver. So you don't have to be technical to be in IT. I think that's a sort of clear thing. And I would say play to your strengths. So work out your strengths and your weaknesses, but really play to your strengths. And from your strengths, that there's probably a role somewhere within an IT organization that you would suit, whether, organization, we've got project managers, or whether it's, really, really techie, we've got sort of software developers and data scientists, or whether you're into transforming and improving, there's service improvement. And then there's also work like I do, which is transformational improvement. So there's something for every type of person and the full range of neurodiversity in an IT setting, because you need people that think in every different which way about how.
Yeah. It was a long time ago now that I managed the IT graduate program. One of the great ways that we found was people starting off on the IT call center, because they had that kind of first line experience of dealing with people, but then just starting to kind of develop their knowledge. I don't even know if that's still such a thing these days.
Yeah, we've got service
now, but
IT service desk. I worked on a service desk for a short period at the end of the 90s, and it's a great learning experience. It's the frontline customer understanding, and also knowing what a tough job it is. That I have massive amounts of respect for anyone that works on a help desk or an IT service desk.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to my video there, just disappeared for a second, but yes, thank you. So yeah, I agree, it's definitely a good place to start. And you are building up those people skills as well, aren't you? Kind of meeting deadlines and all of that stuff, trying to fix things. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's next for you in your work? Do you know? Have you got any ideas on what you might want to do next?
In terms of next role, I don't know. I think I've still got some work here to do at Thames for the foreseeable. We are doing lots of innovational and changing stuff. So hopefully we'll start to see all those improvements start to come out. I'm quite proud of the work that we've done quite recently in IT around event duration monitors, which is we've released just an open API, which is access to the data itself. So third parties can access data for event duration monitor. So it's when the flooding water is going into rivers, which is obviously really controversial. And it's the way the Victorians set the system up. When you've got too much rain and it runs onto roads, what are you going to do with it? Up through people's toilets or put it into a river. So unfortunately, at the moment, there are times that it goes into rivers. So we've released all of that data through an open API, and also a map on the website that shows all that. And that's really nice to see the company starting to become more transparent. So I've got lots of work to continue to do in these spaces to try and generally transform. So yeah, there's lots to do.
That's cool. And that map, we use that quite a lot when we're having a look to see when we're going to go out paddleboarding. It's really useful, really good. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, that's really good.
Hopefully we'll get to the point over the next few years where it won't even be as much because of huge capital investments and whatnot. But well, it's not acceptable that it happens, but being open and transparent about it happening is
at least people are being warned, I guess, that it's about to happen or whatever, so that they can plan accordingly.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just going to add your LinkedIn page up on the screen. So here is Amanda's LinkedIn page. So if you want to follow Amanda or anything like that, I'm sure she'd be happy with that. And yeah, it's been really, really interesting, Amanda. Thank you so much. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Thank you to everyone who has been watching. Future shows, as I have been doing, kind of getting people who are very experienced, some who are just starting their career, some who have made big career changes. I've got people booked until the middle of May, which is really cool. Next week I'm back. I'm not going to attempt to say what he said, but Craig Allen is back. The Black Knight is here, so he can't wait. And I won't even try to pronounce that. So thank you. Thanks again, Amanda. And we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.